Hello and welcome to the Plain English Finance Podcast. I'm your host, Tré Bynoe. This podcast is dedicated to helping you make smart financial decisions. So this episode is on cash flow management again. So I've had a few people where I've sent my episode to because they asked me about cash flow management. I send them the episode and then they come back with a few questions. So I don't know what I did. We did something wrong in the first episode. So we are
Is it
going
the
to
same questions?
similar type of questions. And for some other people, they haven't been able to get a key part of it.
Okay.
So we are actually going to go through the process of what happens throughout the year,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So we just, because it's January now when we're recording this, so we're going to kind of go through the items on our list so people have an idea of what we put into which accounts. Because I get questions about clothing and I get like questions like that. So,
Yeah.
and a lot of it comes back to the system is what it is and you make what it is of it. Anyway, okay. So
Yes.
in January, we sit down and we create our what's going to go into our house account. So we have 5 accounts. We have the income account, we have your spending account, we have my spending account, we have the house account, and then we have the groceries.
Okay.
Okay, those are the 5 accounts, and get lots of questions about where you have these accounts. So for us, we found that groceries is the hardest thing for us to control. I refuse to keep track and write down in a journal how much I'm spending on groceries or anything like that. It needs to be an easier way for me. I'm not putting that much time and effort into keeping my budgeting on track. So we have the cost of that is we have an account. So we have a prepaid MasterCard. That's where our food budget goes. Okay, what we set aside for food.
Yeah. So
Then-
sorry, I'm just going to give a little more information. So that one, I transfer into that prepaid MasterCard every 2 weeks. That's how we do it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you said it's twice a month. Because you
Right.
thought it was 2 weeks, and then we did the budget around 2 weeks, and then
then you're
turns
like,
out it was
you're wrong.
he was
like,
doing it on the 15th and the 1st, and that's
Isn't that
twice a
every 2
month.
weeks?
Yeah, so
I don't know.
twice a month is what you is how often you do it. Okay, but
Yes.
it doesn't really matter how often it is. That's what makes sense for us.
Yeah.
For you mainly.
I like to give those small details because when I'm learning something, I like to know exactly how other people are doing it, I guess.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
That's why I'm adding
We will
it.
go through that, but yeah, okay, fair enough. So they're the 5 accounts, and then the house account is we'll go through what we put into there. Then we have your spending, my spending, and the income account. The income account is where all of our income goes into, basically. And the principle behind this cash flow management system is that your income does not dictate what your spending is. That is the principle behind it. So no matter how you are doing it, if you're doing it differently or whatever, that is the core principle that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Do you
Okay.
think people understand what that means? Like when you say it?
Well, clearly not, because you wouldn't be asking me the question otherwise.
The only reason is because I've heard others in our circle ask you more about that. I don't know if they're connecting it.
Why it's so important.
Not even that, just what does that mean?
Okay. It means that no matter what your income is during the course of the year or how lumpy your income is or anything like that, that your spending doesn't have to change because of that.
Right.
Because ultimately, if you're spending based on your income, you can always spend more. There is always an element of, if I just had more, I would be happy, right? You don't build contentment. And contentment is the key, the absolute key to financial success. If you are not content, you will always want more, which means you will never be content. You'll never be happy.
You'll never have enough money.
You never have enough, because it doesn't matter how much you have, you'd always want more.
Yeah.
So building contentment, funded contentment should be the goal of personal finances. It shouldn't be, they say, most people when they say I want to be a millionaire, they actually want to spend $1 million, which is the complete opposite of being a millionaire.
Yeah.
A millionaire means that you have $1 million and you have not spent it.
Yeah.
If you are not a millionaire, if you've spent $1 million, that's
You're
the
either
opposite.
in
You're
debt.
complete opposite of a millionaire. So the goal is to live life and be happy with what you're spending. Be content.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
your
when you
income is not defined, your expenses is not defined by your income.
So yeah, when you say your expenses are not defined by your income, you're saying figure out how much it costs for you to live the way you want to live. And then if your income is fluctuating, don't just make these quick rash decisions like, oh, I just got a bonus. Oh, I got a raise. So now I can go buy that car I wanted. Now I can go do this. It's like slow down that decision-making process.
Yeah. So that's why we do it once a year.
Yeah.
So we do it in January. If our income jumps in March, that extra income that's put away.
Mm-hmm.
When is it put away till? Next January, where we sit down and we decide what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds easier. Maybe it doesn't sound easy. I don't know. I don't know anymore.
Like
Okay.
anything, it makes sense, but it's hard to do in practice.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go through what's on our list that goes from our income account into our house account. Okay. So we have your car insurance. We have my car insurance. We then have our grocery budget. We have fuel costs. So we know that just to live our life, this isn't included in any big travel or anything like that, just to live our life, we fill up about once a week. We have 2 vehicles and they pretty much alternate the weeks that they fill up. So we have a tank of gas, so $70 times 52. It is that simple. 52 weeks in the year, that's the amount that we set aside. And when we're doing all this, it's all annualized. It's the annual amount. That's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter when you pay or how much or how often. The annual amount that is what's important. Then we have utilities. So we went through, you can log in to, because you do the bill payments for utilities. So you just log in to.
Yeah, you can log into the city of Saskatoon, like your e-bill, and it'll show you like for the totals of the year. So I just calculated, I figured out exactly what we spent last year for our bills, which I've never done that before. Before I was saying just
we think it's about this.
Well, I would always guess high. Mm-hmm. You know, I would remember how much I was paying and let's say it was around 300. I would say to you, put it at 350. Put it at 350. Aim higher if we have money left over. Great kind of thing. But this definitely in the past few years, the bills have gone up like everything else in this world. So I wanted to have a really good idea this year. So I just logged in. You can do it through Sask Energy as well.
Yeah. Okay. So you would log in, you would calculate it for how long?
The year.
The year. I don't care that it's slower and some. Do it for the year.
Yeah.
Then we have our internet. We have your phone bill, my phone bill. We have charitable contributions that we do on a regular basis. We have streaming services. We have like Netflix and Disney and Amazon Prime, things like that. We then have life insurances. So we have our joint last to die policy. We have our individual policies. We have disability insurance. We then have our music, so Spotify. We have Seeker's Food. Again, this is all annualized and it's not, we get as accurate as we can do, right? We have our Costco membership, our Calabrius, that's our credit card cost, like annual cost. We have the cleaner cost. We have Araya's money. So I say 5 accounts. We have additional ones. So for example, we have a 6th one that's called Araya, and that's where we put money in for Araya's stuff.
Yeah.
Every month. Like that's just, and then when it gets to a certain level, I take money out of that and I put it into her little portfolio that she has for her.
Yeah.
Which, if she's listened to this in the future, doesn't mean that it's your money. It's my money and your mum's money that we have put aside to use if we choose to on you. Being bad, maybe it won't be for you. Who knows?
That is like maybe far into the future.
Maybe it's a great vacation. I don't know.
For me and your
What
dad.
are your grades like? Okay. Going back. So then our spending money. So that's what's in our the house account. And then we have that annualized. So for ease sake, I'm gonna say, oh no, one thing I didn't put off there, the mortgage, the property tax. We bundle it all in together as just like a housing cost, but you need to in this house account that you're putting that stuff as well. And this is basically the totality of your cost of living. You'll notice that there isn't an eating out fund because the eating out is part of the grocery or food budget.
Yeah.
Because there needs to be a trade-off between, because what do people say when they're saying save money? They say, well, if you'd stop eating out, you'd buy groceries. Well, that's the reason that the eating out budget is the same as the grocery budget.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to us making a decision about whether we're going to eat out or what we're doing, there has to be an immediate trade-off. So if there's not the money, if we put in every 2 weeks or whatever, and there's times we get to, especially recently, that's why we've increased it for this year, for 2026, but sometimes there won't be enough for us to do what we wanted. If I had it my way, we'd eat out all the time, right? It's like there's no end to it. Where's the limit? How much is it? When do you say enough is enough? We make that decision instead of that decision being because, well, I don't know why people would not eat it. I guess a lot of people will think to themselves it's a waste of money or something
to eat out.
Yeah, when in reality they don't actually know. Can you afford it? Can you not afford it? This is an easy way for us to know whether we can afford it or not.
Yeah.
Right? We have the money there. It's in the prepaid MasterCard. If we want to do it, we look at it and we either have the money or we don't have the money. It's very simple. And then if we want to spend in addition to that, it comes from where?
Our own personal spending.
Right? And we get the same spending money. That's what we've decided. Each couple can do it differently. It's up to them. But we get the same spending money. For you get the same as I get the same. That's how we do it. So let's say, for argument's sake, that for easy math, $10,000 a month is what it costs. You notice we haven't spoken about income yet because it's completely irrelevant to the way that the cash flow system works. Right? I don't want to say budget because people think of budgeting as very specific. And yes, because it's completely irrelevant. So we build this. So then we get to $120,000 for the year. Let's say I am paid once a year. How much needs to go into the house account? $120,000. Let's say I'm paid 3 times a year. Guess how much needs to go into the household account? I want to say $400,000, but I need to check that. $40,000, sorry.
4, 8, 12, yeah.
Yeah, $40,000 that needs to go into the house account. It doesn't matter how often I get paid. I know over the course of the year, I need to put $120,000 into that house account.
So then most people, if they're an employee, get paid every 2 weeks? Or is it twice a month?
That's the thing. It doesn't matter.
You just find out that number. You take the annual cost, the 120,000. You divide it by the amount of times you get paid.
If that's how you choose to do it, or
do it every month. It
doesn't matter. That's the important thing. We choose to do it monthly, and that might change because if the way that I get paid changes, it might be quarterly that we do. It doesn't change the. It doesn't change the system, right? Yeah. The system is the system.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what goes into the house account. That is the only stuff that we record the cost of. Mm-hmm. That's it. I don't go back and double check to see whether the utilities were $390 or no, that's what it is. That's how it's left. There's no vehicle repairs in there. There's none of that type of stuff. You're responsible for a vehicle and you have to pay for the oil changes on the vehicle. I'm responsible for a vehicle, and that comes from our spending.
Yeah.
I have to pay for the oil changes on said vehicle. But aside from that, everything else that could potentially come up, like people would talk about like an emergency fund, things like that, that all comes from the emergency fund that's set up, the portfolio that's set up. That isn't from this money.
Yeah.
And I also don't put aside a little bit each paycheck for those items.
Yeah.
Once you get to the point that you have enough for those items, you stop saving for those items. It's not about those items. You're not saving for those items anymore. Yeah. It's simply a case of this $120,000 is what we spend. No more, no less. If there's money accruing in our spending account, I don't go take that money and then go and invest it or anything like that. That money is to be spent because
Mhm.
it's a decision that we have made. If we want to, whatever we want to do with it, it's money to be spent because there is a balance to be had when it comes to personal finances. And especially for people like us, where I would save until the cows come home if you gave me half a chance. It's you have to, and this is the way that I forcibly get myself not to do that, where it's like, okay, don't just save everything. You like there is a transition point. It's okay to spend more on certain things, right? If it was, even if it's not 100% valuable to you, money's not, don't, it's not designed to be hoarded. It's like,
Yeah.
otherwise you'll always be stressed about money. Like it's a balancing act. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what we do at the beginning of the year.
Okay, I wanted to say something real quick about a couple of things for grocery and eating out. I feel like those variable amounts, maybe I already mentioned this in the last episode, but those are harder for people to wrap their head around. It's like, oh, Netflix costs $9.99, write that down. But then when you're deciding, like you're the decision maker, sometimes I feel like people don't like to put a number on it because in those situations where they've used up all their food account and their
You mean it adds
friend,
accountability, like
yes,
accountability? Yeah.
because
Okay.
then a friend comes and says, "Hey, let's go to the keg." And you're like, "Ugh, I only have $21.33 in my food account. Oh, I'll just add more or I'll just do this." You do have that option, but it comes from your spending. And then at some point you cap it. You say $400 or whatever is the cap for this period of time. And then you stick to that. And if you're not sticking to it consistently, you either need to relook at what you're buying, how much you're eating out, or maybe you don't have enough going in for your lifestyle, like the way you want to live. You can always change that. It's not like you always say, it's not about being the cheapest or being frugal all the time or being like that mentality. It's just about being disciplined.
And you have to I find this structure helps reduce the consequences of discipline or lack of discipline.
Mhm.
Because instead of the lack of discipline bleeding into every aspect of your life, you can see it straight away.
Mhm.
And in order for you to make a different decision, you have to break your habits and break the structure. If I wanted to go, let's say we're putting aside $500 for groceries and I wanted to go spend $700, I would have to physically go in and transfer an extra $200 from my spending to the grocery account in order for me to do that, right?
Mhm.
There's an action required for me to break the budget that I have set.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's the important, that's what this whole thing is built around, is making the right thing to do easy.
Yep.
Because I refuse to spend the amount of time that some people spend budgeting. I
Mhm.
refuse. I'm not doing it. I have better things to do with my life than keep receipts and track them in a book and track like no, that is just not what I want to do. So and the trade-off for that is this is what we do. This is what we've come up with. It's an easy way to do it. So
Yep.
okay, we sit down, do that once a year, and that's where you and I will talk about those individual items. Okay, so then let's say, for instance, somebody is paid weekly. Okay. We have decided as of right now, this money is transferred. So let's say it was $120,000. This $10,000 is transferred on the last day of the month. Okay. Every single day, the last day of the month. All of our income goes into the income account.
Yep.
How often you get paid or anything doesn't matter.
Yep.
Okay. So we decided once a month, that's what's going to happen. So on the last day of the month, all the money has been accumulating from our income into this income account. We left it, don't touch it, don't have anything to do with it. On the last day of the month, that $10,000 gets transferred from the income account into the house account. Okay. And then there is an automatic transfer again from the house account into our spending accounts. So, and you can set that time frame to be whatever. They're two separate transactions. If you choose that you want weekly spending money, set it to weekly. If you want bi-weekly spending money, set it to bi-weekly.
Yep.
If you want quarterly, doesn't matter. The point is that those are two separate transactions. On the first of the month, it means that I can go into that income account and I can transfer every penny of that into my investment portfolio,
Yeah.
because everything else is to be
It's
invested.
taking, yeah.
Everything is taken care of.
Yeah.
That is the beauty of doing it the way that we do it.
Yeah. So instead of people trying to figure out how much should I save, what's 10% of my income, I've heard lots of people use those numbers. You've got a system that you know exactly how much it costs to live, exactly what you want to do for the year. Everything else is saved, and that is going to build your net worth versus cash sitting around and things like that. Or
it stops a lot of the issues that people will come back and they will be like, oh, what do I do if this happens? And what do I do if my cash builds up? What do I do? Like, it's already answered by the system answers it, right? And it doesn't mean, I want to say this, doesn't mean that we can't then go and break this, right? Like we can't, if we set a set amount for our spending money and we decide that we want to go on a really big trip or whatever, it doesn't mean that we can't go spend more. But where that comes from is from the portfolio.
Yeah.
And that means that then that's now a discussion that we are having, because we determine what we're doing there. If the vehicle has a significant breakdown, or we have to buy a new vehicle, we just had to buy a new vehicle. That didn't come from the spending money. That came from the portfolio. We are not saving for those things anymore.
Oh, yes. Okay, sorry. That was another thing I wanted to mention while you were talking, is the saving for things. Because I also feel like, I almost said normal people. Tré's normal. No, but for me, I remember when we got Sika, I was thinking about pet insurance, her vet bills, what if this happens, what if that happens? And I said, I want to open an account and just start putting money in for Sika in case something happens. And I remember you saying, we're not doing that. We're just going to invest it. And if we need it, we'll just take it from the portfolio. And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But in my mind, I like to have I'm going to use like my own, I want my external world organized. I prefer it. Your internal world is a lot more organized than mine. So I need my external world to be more organized. So when I look at accounts, I'm like, I want it to say like ceases spending, Sika's emergency.
Vet bill.
Yeah.
I know plenty of people. I have clients that are like that as well.
See, that's why I'm saying it, because I feel you. I understand. But it does make sense to do it this way. It's
what can happen is you end up having too much cash.
Yeah, and it takes that like mental load too.
Yeah, because at what point do you stop putting money aside? Let's say you decide to put money aside for that, and that's why with a Rise account, if that account goes over $1,500, I transfer it down to about $1,000, and that money goes into her long-term her portfolio. Because and then guess what? If something comes up that we need more than that, I will go into that long-term portfolio and just take it out of that, right? Like there has to be a limit. At what point do you say enough is enough? Yeah. So the way that the system is set up, it means that you won't constantly be having tons of cash laying around. If you choose to have an emergency fund at your bank and you choose it's 3 months, let's use the $120,000 and you say 3 months cost, that's $10,000 a month. I know my emergency fund needs to be $30,000.
Yep.
I am going to take $30,000 and I'm going to put it in a savings account, and I am going to stop adding to it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to keep on adding to it until it's 60, 80, 120. And then you have Tré, like, what are you doing?
And you're like,
do you know how much that would have...
no emergency can get me. I'm so prepared. That's me.
Like, what emergency could possibly happen? Even if you have the portfolio and it halves in value, you still have the money there. Like, we have a line of credit, like this, the emergency, this magical emergency that people are thinking of often never happens. You need an amount for sure, but you do not need $150,000 of cash sitting there.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
You have other options.
Way better options. In fact, that's probably one of the worst options that you could pick.
I feel like our friends always say everyone needs a Tré in their life, because it's true. I feel like we get stuck in these thought patterns, because I would totally do that.
Oh, absolutely you would do that. You already tried to do that.
I know. I feel like I fight you on the budget sometimes.
And have we once? We've been married 11 years now? 12 years?
It'll be 12, I think.
Coming up to 12 years.
I can't remember, actually. I'm like, what year?
It's not just me.
What year are we in?
Almost 12 years. ever once have we ever needed the emergency fund the size that you would like it? No, we have not.
Recently, I had a savings account that I had set aside, and Trey made me do the math because I thought, what if we go on vacation? What if I need this? What if this happens? So I'm just going to leave that cash there. And Trey made me do the math for, because it was over a year. It might have been 2 years.
It was longer than that. It was like
Might
3
have
or
been
4
longer.
years. It was a long time.
And then he made me do the math as to what I would have earned. But not just that, because it would also have been compounding. And I wanted to puke. So I immediately invested that.
Okay, fine, I'll do it.
So, and look, we haven't gone on vacation yet. So at least I made a little bit.
And then when we do, again, we're going on vacation. Hopefully nothing bad happens. But when this comes out, we'll probably actually be on vacation maybe.
Yeah, we might be,
But that is part of that is, again, this is a good example of an expense that wasn't in this, because you'll notice there's no vacation travels and stuff.
yeah.
So for this vacation, we're going to pay half of it from our spending money and half of it from the portfolio. The portfolio isn't, and I have this conversation a lot with people, a lot of people think that the money that they put aside to invest is only for retirement. And yes, that is, you need to think long term, especially when you're buying equity and you're buying stocks and you're buying that type of thing. You have to understand that it could drop tomorrow and it could take 4 years, 5 years for it to recover.
Yeah. It's not a checking account.
It's not a checking account.
Yeah.
But when your financial life is in order, you can be opportunistic. Like, the markets are up. We want to spend the money. We will go in and take the money out and spend it. When markets are up, we want to buy a vehicle. We're going to take the money out and buy the vehicle. The issue is that you need to have a plan for what you're going to do if the markets aren't up. So what I don't like to see is somebody in a position where if they don't have enough cash, that if the markets are down, they don't have another option.
Yeah.
So for us, for instance, if the markets were down, and we wanted to go on vacation, I would not put the money from the income account into the portfolio for a month.
Yeah.
For 2 months. Whatever we needed in order to just have a little bit of extra cash around. That's our plan for when that happens, because it will happen eventually. You just need a plan, right? And this structure helps us do that. So, as I said, we get paid at whatever point throughout the month. On the last day of the month, money goes in from the income account into the house account. On the first of the month, money is transferred from the income account to the portfolio.
Yep.
Then the MasterCard bill comes. So the MasterCard bill, I go through it every single month. So Cease pays the utility bills, which are now automatic, but Cease pays the utility
Somebody
bills
drew
and
the
stuff.
short straw.
And I go through the credit card statement. And when I'm going through the credit card statement, I have these accounts in the columns. So I'll download it to Excel and I'll have Tré spending, Cease spending, house, Araya, joint stuff. Yeah. And that's what I do. And then I'll go through the list of the credit card statement and I'll just put them into the right columns. So most of the stuff that's in the house is going to be the list of the items that are like reoccurring, like the Netflix and like stuff like that. That's
on the card.
Or
like I just signed up for the gym. So then that will be, and that's through the MasterCard. So now that will be on there and that's a recurring thing, but it'll just go to me.
Yeah. So I will just go through the list. When we go through the Amazon bill, we'll just go through and I'll put it into the columns. If it's for the house, we're at the point where we don't really discuss those type of things. It's just like we have an idea. We're on everybody's accounts, you kind of see, but that will go into like joint stuff. So if it's I don't know, a set of dishes, it would just go into the joint column. And then I would add half the joint column to Cease's spending, half the joint column to Tré's spending, and them dollar figures, I'll then text Cease that dollar figure, and she will, because I want her to be involved in some capacity. I could just do it myself, but I do not. I try not to anyway.
And then I reply with the skull emoji every single time he sends me the number. It's like, I hate that time of month.
MasterCard time. And then we just transfer that dollar figure from said account back into the income account, and I pay the MasterCard bill from the income account.
Yep. Out of the whole budget, I feel like that is the most tedious.
Yeah, and part of it is there are ways that I could simplify it, but you should be going through your credit card
Yeah.
statement every single month.
Yeah.
And I think that because I've thought about it, and ultimately I just think that the pros of doing it from multiple angles drastically outweighs the cons.
Yeah.
Takes me 15 minutes a month to do it.
Yeah.
Definitely the most annoying part,
Yeah.
but we could simplify it. We could just add like direct MasterCard to each
Payment.
account, right? And like where you can
Oh, I
just have like
see.
debit credit cards and stuff and just do it that way and just have them automatically come out of the accounts. And you could do that. You could absolutely do that. It's just, I like the points. It's a good habit to get into,
Yeah.
keeps you on top of it. And while I don't think about money all the time or anything like that for our budget, it just means that you kind of have an idea. You have a better idea than if I truly did nothing to do with finances every single month. But that's all I do. So that's the part that we do monthly, or I do monthly. That's it. And then life just ticks on.
Mm-hmm.
And then the money that goes into the portfolio. Now, I do not do this because I'm a financial planner, so I wouldn't recommend. What I would say people do for that is if you have room in your TFSA, you shove it in there and you get it invested. If you don't have room in your TFSA, you start an unregistered account and you just get it invested. And then once a year, you sit down and you figure out what contributions you're going to make to your RSPs, what contributions you're going to make to your ESPs, or whatever it is. You then make that decision from there. Because what I really hate seeing, even like RESPs and things like that, is if you do not have, as an individual, if you do not have enough cash available, like available money to you, you will feel broke no matter how much you have in retirement savings. If you can't access any of it without consequence, you're going to feel close to the edge. So I would much rather just categorically, it stops the whole, what do I do with this money? Do I invest this way or that way? It's like you have an investment philosophy, you stick to it, you put the money in there as regularly as often as possible. But we do it once a month. That's it. There's
Yep.
no mid-month. There's none of that. Just we do it once a month. It doesn't matter how often we get paid. So money will sit there. If I get paid on the 3rd of the month, money will sit there for a while or whatever. Fortunately, we've figured out. So it's like doesn't sit there for long, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is it's like clockwork. It's the same
Yeah.
thing.
I was just going to say one more thing about that because I could see people saying, well, what about if I get paid quarterly and my car insurance, everything's coming out in January. I don't have the money available. What would you say to that?
Sucks to suck. No, I would say that if that is truly the case, like everything comes out in 1 month,
Yeah.
leave a buffer in there. The fact is when there was
Or, sorry, I just had an idea. Or maybe their year is not January to December.
yeah, it could be whenever really. It could
Because
be
really,
whenever.
like,
But
yeah.
ideally we've never actually ran into this problem. And I know it's like there is the potential of this problem happening. And no, I lied. There was a few times and I would borrow money from the portfolio. I remember doing that in the early days when
Mhm.
it was a lot closer margins, and I would borrow money from the portfolio to put it into the house account, and then I would pay it back. So
Yeah.
I did that a few times where I was like, okay, well, I need a few $1,000s. I would use a whole number, take $2,000, $3,000, put it into the house account, and then later when the money had built up, I would take it back. But I think most people can figure out a way around that. Like that you should have a little buffer, like start the account with a few $1,000s or something like that.
Yeah.
The point is not to be perfect. The point is to be consistent and systematic.
Yeah.
If there is a few $1,000s more than you really need in your house account, there's bigger issues going on in the world. Like
Yeah.
so what?
Like,
It's not the end of the world.
don't fret about that cash
Yeah.
being sitting there
So
because
yeah. So what? That cash is there. You okay. Move on. Like what I will do is every January I'll take a look and see what's in the house account and I'll get an idea. But truthfully, I've never really taken money out of the house account. It kind of just sits
sits
there.
there.
And
Yeah.
I know we might have a few $1,000 buffer now, but so what, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
I'd
think,
rather not think about it than
yeah.
try to worry about that, honestly.
Yeah.
Bigger things to worry about.
Okay, quick question. Unless you have more to keep going on.
No, I feel like we covered it.
Well, I was going to say, what are the questions people were asking? Do you
Oh,
have specifics?
so people are asking about like your clothes, like where do you spend, like where does that spending come from?
Yeah.
And I guess I didn't touch on that. So the spending account, the spending money is yours to manage however you choose to manage. It ceases to manage however she chooses to manage that.
Yeah.
Part of that includes your clothes, that includes your Starbucks. Well, no, that normally comes from the
It depends.
grocery bill, depending.
I don't have it very often.
No. But that spending money is yours to do with as you please.
Yeah.
If you choose to spend all of it on clothes, you go spend all of it on clothes. That money, you're not setting aside extra for the clothes stuff. You're not setting aside extra for this or extra for that. Or if I want to, I'm not a car guy, but if I wanted to buy a muffler for my car, that's part of that money, right? Like,
Yeah.
if let's say you're getting $1,000 a month, and the piece of hardware that you want to buy is $2,000, well, then you have to save up for that piece of hardware. That's not there's no, you get this and I get that. It's a case of like, this is the amount that we've set aside. It doesn't have to be even. We've chosen to do it that way. Like, you do it however you want to do it. But the point is that you've set aside, you've set an amount, you have a limit, and you operate within that limit. If you want to, I mean, it could be a case of if we needed to replace, let's say, the computers and stuff, a business expense. So we have an added complexity to this, which I haven't talked about how we manage that. I've left that part
I noticed
out.
that.
But it's very similar. It's very simple. This similar type of principle.
Yeah.
But
I feel like you kind of lost us. Like you went on a little bit of a.
Oh, sorry. All I'm saying is it doesn't mean that you don't spend from the portfolio. If you need something big, it means that it's now a conversation that we have. And I can never say, we didn't think about that. It just happened.
Yeah.
Right. It's a decision that we are making instead of life just happening to us. It's a decision that we made.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, if you can instill where the majority of the decisions that you're making on day to day are good decisions, will lead you to good places.
Yep.
If the majority of decisions that you make day to day are bad decisions, it will lead you to a bad place. Mm-hmm. So the goal is just put you on the path, make it easier to make good decisions than it is to make bad decisions.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Okay. I think that's it. I think that covers the structure of it. And we do the same thing every single month for the entire year. And then if there is something that you want to increase, then we'll be like, okay, we will look at that in January, right? Yeah. Like when we added the cleaning service, it was, okay, that was like middle of the year or whatever. And we're like, hey, we'll look at that in January. And then we made a decision, right? I talk about trying to live behind what your income is. Mm-hmm. And that is for two reasons. It's to create that gap, but it's also to build contentment. Like if you were living life this way for the last 5 years, just because you've now got a pay raise doesn't mean that suddenly you need to live
more luxuriously.
It's like, no, you can be content no matter where your income is. And that's an important thing because there's people out there that are earning much less than you are. Whoever is listening to this, they're much less, and they're living life contently. Like they're content with what they have. Yeah. So it's not about the income above a certain degree. It's about your mind frame and how you view things. Anyway.
Yep.
Anything else you want to add before?
I don't think so. This one's a little bit on the long side. I just wanted to make sure you covered everything that people were mentioning. So
it's mainly the small expenses, like things. The car, like what happens if my car breaks down?
Yeah.
Take it from the portfolio. It's the issue comes is if you are saving everything like that's left over into RSPs or something like that, then you do not have anything left over to cover those expenses.
To like pull from easily.
So that's why I stress the importance of people building an accessible portfolio, because if I'm doing RSP contributions, the way I do RSP contributions is very specific. It's for the biggest tax benefit that we can get. So again, it doesn't, just because we can make the RSP doesn't mean that that's where the money goes. It's a decision. These things are decision, but you don't need to make these decisions all the time.
Yeah.
You need to set up a system where, I sit down and we make these decisions with my clients once a year. It's not a everyday decision. We make that decision. We take a look at their T4s and make that decision what we're going to do. But the important thing is during that year, they're still investing, they're still saving, they're still putting this money aside. They've built a system to make that happen. So,
Yep.
Anyway, that's it.
Awesome.
Let's cut this short because the topic that this is the fundamentals. I'm telling you, if you do not master personal cash flow in some capacity, you will never be wealthy. You'll never reach it because you cannot outspend bad habits.
Yeah.
You can't. Many very very high income sports professionals have been there before you trying to do the same thing with a lot more money.
Yeah.
And they haven't been able to do it. So you won't about it either. Unlikely anyway. Okay, perfect. See you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Plain English Finance Podcast. Tré Bynoe, Certified Financial Planner, Chartered Investment Manager, is a financial planner with TC Wealth Management and Aviso Wealth. You should always consult with your financial, legal, and tax advisors before making changes. This podcast is provided as a general source of information and should not be considered personal investment advice or solicitation to buy or sell any securities. The views expressed are those of the individual and are not necessarily those of Aviso Financial Inc. Mutual funds and other securities are offered through Aviso Wealth, a division of Aviso Financial Inc.